What's up? How you doing? Here we are in the desert. Beautiful day today. Not much of a breeze. Very, very slight. Every once in a while there's a little bit, maybe 0.3 miles an hour, 0.4 around there. And not a cloud in the sky. The sun is beating on me right now. I could feel it pushing me into the ground. It's like that. I could feel it right here. So the other day I put up a video about the common cold. Well, it wasn't about the common cold altogether, but a portion of it was. And I said that cold weather and going out with wet hair have nothing to do with catching the cold. That the cold is basically a virus, 220 rhinoviruses that make you sick. And there's other things too that can get you sick, but primarily it's the rhinovirus that does that during the winter months. And then somebody posted on my video that the cold has the ability to suppress your immune system, and that is why you get sick in the wintertime more often than the summertime. And so that is true. There has been a study that was done recently that shows that when it's cold outside, your immune system can be depressed. It doesn't function as it would in the warmer temperatures. And according to the study, it's like your nostrils get cold, and that allows the virus to enter kind of unchecked. So you go out there, your nose is cold or whatever, and the virus will thrive in that kind of an environment. I guess you have to carry a hairdryer around and just inhale that, but it is true. But I worked in a very cold environment, outdoors, most of the time, for a period of a few years. And during that time, I caught very few colds in comparison to other people that were working inside in more comfortable environments. So for me, it didn't have an impact. And a lot of people, it doesn't have an impact. I don't know. I mean, they might have done a study that showed some kind of, depression of the immune system due to the cold. I've read other studies that show that the reason why we catch colds in the wintertime more often than any other time of the year is because we get less sun exposure, and the sun is responsible when it comes in contact with our skin, like right now, to allowing us or making us produce vitamin D. And vitamin D is necessary for your immune system to fight off infections. So that was one explanation. The other explanation was that in the wintertime, where it's chilly outside, we tend to spend more time indoors with windows shut, and we're breathing each other's, air. And if you have one person that's sick in the room and you're breathing their carbon dioxide, then you could get sick. But it is true that, according to the study, it's probably a percentage of people that get affected like that, because not everybody, and I'll give an example. Here in California right now, it's been very, very warm, feels like summer, and we have an outbreak of flu. So you would think if the temperature was high here, which it is, you wouldn't have that outbreak here. And then you look at other states like Maine and Montana, and they have an extremely low flu level right now. So, and then other times you look at Hawaii and they have a high flu, and Florida right now is moderate to high, and it's really warm there. So, I understand. I saw the study. And it does say that cold weather suppresses the immune system to a point. And I don't know how they did the study. I don't know if they took blood samples and they looked for the white blood cell count, and it was lower in cold weather. But I know in the 50s, they did studies that showed that they had people that were healthy, and they put them in rooms. So they had one group in freezers, and they had their feet, they dampened them up. Well, freezers like probably a little bit above freezing. And then they refrigerators, big refrigerators. They had them sitting in there, and they were all healthy to begin with. So they had them in there, they would dampen them. They had their feet in water, they would wet their hair. And then they had another group, and they had them in nice, comfortable environments. They had them in rooms with the temperature was like 70 degrees. They were dry. And the group that was in that room, they exposed to the rhinovirus. They took a Q-tip or something and they put the rhinovirus in their noses, and they waited 3-4 days. Every single person in the warm environment rooms got sick, ended up getting the cold. On the other side, they didn't expose anybody in the cold environments, anybody, to the rhinovirus. And not one person got sick, not one person. And that's also true in Alaska. In Alaska, these tribes that are always together, even though they're out in the cold, they don't experience the cold, like getting sick, I mean. So what happens is they're constantly exposed to the same people, so they've developed antibodies to each other's germs. And there's no new person that comes in to introduce the rhinovirus. And so no one gets sick despite the fact that it's freezing there. So, you know, it's like, like I've seen the studies that show that in the summer you have a lot of sun exposure, your vitamin D levels go up. Vitamin D is necessary for your immune system to function properly. And then the winter, you have less sun and you're indoors more. And so what happens is your vitamin D levels drop. If you take blood samples of people during the winter months versus summer, you'll notice a significant difference in vitamin D levels. But just to acknowledge that there was a study done, and I think there's been a few, that show that cold temperatures have an impact on immune response. But you still have to be exposed to the rhinovirus. It's not the cold itself. The cold is secondary. It's not the actual reason why you get sick. It's still the virus that causes you to get sick. It's still a microbe. A lot of people think that because you're exposed to the cold air, that the cold air somehow makes you sick. It's indirect. But anyway, like I said, I worked outdoors in temperatures that were like, in the teens, windy, and I would take a shower every morning and I would go to this place, and a lot of times just walking outdoors a little bit would make my hair, it would freeze it. And I remember I was very surprised that I caught colds at a lower rate than the people that were indoors. I wasn't sick like every week. It was like, oh, I'm out in the cold, I'm sick again. So, I mean, there is a thing where you become tolerant because you've been exposed to the rhinovirus, but there's so many of them that you would have to have hundreds of colds in order to have the antibodies for each of those viruses, because each one is slightly different. But, for me, I've never noticed an increase in catching a cold because I've gone out without a hat. Now, if the study is 100% accurate, then you would have to walk around with a mask on your face, like a wool mask, and some kind of device in your pocket with a wire that heats up the air as you breathe it. Or you carry a blow dryer, hair blow dryer, and you just breathe that air nice and warm. Now, if they did a study like that showed those people walking around with a blow dryer versus like 1,000 people blow dryer, 1,000 people without in the same environment, and they came to the conclusion that the warm air, when your nostrils are warm, reduces the incidence of catching a cold, then, but I think there's a lot of factors in this, but the main reason why you get sick in the wintertime is exposure to the rhinovirus. And the other ones are contributing factors. So that's it for now. I mean, it's not it for now. I'm going to do a little bit more, but like I said, today is cold. And in California, we have a flu outbreak right now, even though it's warm outside. The kids at my school, a lot of them have a cold, and it's been very warm in California. So, I mean, if it's the case that the warm air keeps your immune system working the way it should, then right now in California, nobody should be sick, or very few people. So, I move on. I digress.